Today, we're joined by a good friend of mine, Howie Diamond. He's the co founder and managing director of Pure Ventures, co founder of Heartwood Collective, a coaching platform for founders. He's the current partner and head of growth at Slawth Haus, a reimagined social wellness club built in Florida. With 20 plus years of experience in entrepreneurship, investing, and startup operations, Howie brings deep expertise in scaling purpose driven businesses. He's newly based in West Palm Beach, focused on evolving traditional business and founder dynamics through progressive, human centered models. Howie, welcome to the show.
Naeem, great to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you on, man. This conversation's been over 10 years in the making.
Coming full circle, baby.
Yep. I'm happy we got to reconnect. And I love hearing about your new venture, Slawth Haus. But before we dive into that stuff too, I want to talk to you about Heartwood Collective as well, which is aligned with what I'm doing, obviously, with coaching for
Yeah.
founders. I love that. But before any of that, the most important thing is tell me about eucalyptus from South Africa.
Yeah, that's the most recent adventure in my world this week. Um, we are in the process of building out this new social wellness club, as you sort of alluded to, called Slawth House. And it's really fun because I've mostly been, the past 13 years, I've been on the investment side, working with various companies, in variety of capacities. But as an investor, I'm not really day to day on any of the operations. I'm helping wherever I can. My previous funds, we didn't take board seats. Um, so I'm involved, but I'm not involved in like in a day to day meaningful way in terms of operating the business. But with Sloth House, I am, and just so happens that like we are building um, a four-wall business that's not online, that's in real life and tangible. And we're like digging holes in the ground, and we are building fences, and I'm getting my hands dirty, literally. And it's like so cool, like just to be able to do that, like I feel like I'm a kid again, just like, playing in the dirt. But we're like building something really substantial and meaningful that's gonna like create a lot of value in the world. So it's really fun to kind of like be at that sort of like grassroots building level.
Literally.
And
I
yeah,
love
and
that.
yeah, and so the eucalyptus is what we got this week that was imported from South Africa. That's going to be the exterior wall of the property. It's going to be built with eucalyptus rods that are really beautiful looking, and they're imported from South Africa, and they're just like high quality. We don't do any of that like Home Depot bamboo shit. We're going South African eucalyptus.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I love eucalyptus. Whenever I'm in the sauna or steam room, I love having some of that going. And South Africa, I was just there for the first time this year, so that has a special resonance for me as well. But I'm sure the eucalyptus from South Africa has a special appeal to it as well.
Yeah, yeah, we're all about eucalyptus and
Yeah,
lemongrass and lavender and all those scents are that's part of our world now.
I love that, man. So cool. Well, smell, man, that's such a powerful sensory modality that people don't really think about as much or notice as much or as intentional about as much also, along with sound, right? Most of us are visual,
Mm,
auditory, well, sound, right? I just said auditory. I meant similar to sound, right? But our voice, right? Like actually using our voice more as well, but definitely smell, which is such a powerful tool to shift and make transformation for people in such a subtle way.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think about, I mean, we're gonna offer aromatherapy classes, and we're gonna have aromas in the sauna. Um, as well as the saunas that we have built on the property are made. One of them is with redwood that was like literally from California, the redwood
Yeah.
forest. And then the other two are made with cedar, and one of them is wood burning. So the wood burning sauna that's made out of redwood, you go in there and like you feel like you're in. a redwood tree. It's just amazing, powerful
Yeah.
scent of the wood that is just really spiritual almost in a way. Our members are loving it because our first two saunas were electric, but we just got this wood burning sauna and it's just we're getting amazing feedback. And you just walk in there and you're like transported into like a ski town or a redwood forest. And yes, very powerful scents. Then you mix that with the eucalyptus and the other stuff that we're sort of diluting with water and putting on the rocks, and it creates some really powerful, yeah, sensory overloads in a good
That's
way.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome. Well, good for you, man. I love that you're
Yeah.
getting your hands dirty, digging up holes, going from
Yeah.
just not just, right, but like investing in companies, right, at the high level now down to the literally the grassroots of
Like your
building
answer is.
Slawth
Yeah, and
Haus.
I'm not anti-tech or anything. I just want to be clear. Like
Yeah.
I think, I think tech can be utilized in really beneficial ways if it's managed properly. Obviously there's a dark side, and I do think the algorithms are very powerful, and so we're seeing some of the unintended consequences of technology sort of impacting our day to day. Um, Feels like I've certainly experienced sort of a neurological effect of the algorithms.
Yeah.
Sort of I feel like there's a neuroses if you spend too much time with the synthetic algorithms, sort of rewiring, if you will.
Hmm.
I think we're sort of seeing that collectively around the country and around the world. People are giving testimonials about it. And I think there's just like data that's also backing it up in terms of people feeling more lonely, more isolated, et cetera. So what Slawth Haus really represents is sort of a counterweight to that,
Hmm.
where people can come and sit with eucalyptus and, be in nature. It's built outdoors. No phones. We're a digital detox environment,
Mm.
and just it's a reset. It's a grounding. It's a step away from the craziness of, your life for a minute and get offline and have some analog experiences with other humans in nature. And I think that's an important thing for people to do, weekly, or even we have members that come daily who feel that they need that reset on a daily basis just because of the stresses of life, which I believe are being exacerbated by these synthetic technologies. So
Yep.
it's like a good counterbalance to all of that.
Totally. And that's what's wild. It's interesting for me at least, and for a lot of my clients. It's in a good way. It's like all the technological advancement is forcing. It's like a forcing function also for people to get back in touch with nature and like humans and like in the tactile real world. So like I feel
Yeah.
like the more the pendulum shifts to the other side of like insane AI, AGI, all this stuff that's happening, for us to even navigate that and survive that, like again, nobody has a clue what's going to happen as this happens more and more. But to navigate it and survive it, like I feel like people have to go to places like Slawth Haus and meditate
Yeah.
and be with people and like be digging in the dirt, right, and being with nature.
We're seeing it. Like we're seeing Luddite communities pop up. There is this sort of like, yeah, this movement around unplugging and anti-tech. I mean, I'm seeing it with my generation. I'm 46, and I have a lot of friends who have brick phones. Definitely are more
Mm-hmm.
intentional, thoughtful about going on social media, limiting the amount they go on as a discipline. It's really like imposing their will on what kind of life design they want to have, and
Yep.
there's like it's just like they've experienced just a sort of so much. They've been so inundated with technology the past 10 years that they're starting to have tech fatigue. And like you said, there's just like a natural movement away from it. But what's also interesting, and Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this, is the youngest generation, Gen Alpha, who, I remember what life was pre-internet because I'm a millennial, cusp of Gen Z and millennial, or yeah, no, Gen X and millennial, right? Um, what am I? I don't even know. Um, but I remember life pre-internet. And it was pretty cool. I mean, granted, I was young, but I grew up before there was internet and before cell phones. And I liked a lot of aspects of that, of my childhood, especially going to camp and riding my bike and playing in the trees and whatever, like being in nature. And we had a great childhood and it was amazing. So I, so my generation's kind of like remembering those experiences and like reverting back to them and wanting to revert back to them in terms of like real life experiences. But the interesting thing is the Gen Alpha generation who grew up with, iPhones in their hand, like out of the womb. It's
Yep.
like, here you go. Um, they are polling, like 7 out of 10 of them are polling that they're already like over it. Like they're sort of like rebelling against the sort of techno revolution.
Huh.
And whether that's because I don't know how they're getting their information, or where it's coming from, but they're looking for experiences in, real life experiences. You've heard the trend about drinking, I'm sure. Um, I've heard some sort of mixed opinions about that, but I do firmly
What's
believe
what's
that
the trend
like
about drinking? I didn't hear that.
younger generations are drinking less.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't like substantiated that with any data, but I heard that's a general trend. And, I don't know if they're replacing alcohol with like microdosing mushrooms or doing
Yep.
other drugs, right? Like we like replace one habit with another. But there is a general trend of at least drinking more intentionally or more, more thoughtfully. Not like when I was growing up, it was just like everyone was partying. 80s and 90s were just really, fun,
Right.
loose, alcohol centric decades. But this youngest generation, and they're like leading indicators for most trends are, kind of not partying as much, it seems, or if they are, they're using, different types of substances. And I think they're doing it in moderation and not abusing them. And also looking for in like real life communal
Hmm.
experiences where they can like be with their friends. But and there's only so many times, there's only so many options when you're looking for stuff to do, have those experiences. I mean, there's only so many times you can go to a movie and go bowling, right? It's like so or or go to the driving range, drive shack or whatever. Like so I think we're starting and I think this is where this trend of like they're calling the fourth space. I think this is where over the past 2 years, this has been a booming trend.
Hmm.
Um, Around new uh, environments that are being built that don't aren't centered around substances that are more centered around human interaction, community building, health, wellness, um, yeah, connection. And we're starting to see that play out in like various types of new businesses that are being built, within four walls. And a lot of it is rooted in health and wellness. So there's also this like general trend of people having like this deep self-awareness,
Hmm.
not just about how they look, but about how they feel. And that's like a new exciting thing going on, right? Like people care about what they're putting into their bodies, how it affects them, longevity, biohacking, et cetera. So we're in like the very nascent stages. I think there is a lot of like pseudoscience out there around it, but at least the fact that people are talking about it and they want it, and I do believe it's not a fad. I think it's here to stay for a while. And with the technology that's being implemented in terms of tracking mechanisms and wearable technology, there's a lot of exciting things that's going on in terms of tracking metabolic health, cardiovascular health, and optimizing for a lot of these areas that can make you feel good on a daily basis.
Yep. Those are some of the benefits of the tech, right? Just being able to have that data in, yeah, more prolifically and eloquently.
For sure.
It's interesting. I don't know where your friends are from, but assuming some of them are from the Bay Area, but I feel like I don't really run into that many people that kind of use the dumb phones or like talk about the dangers of social media or the algorithm as much as people from the Bay Area, because obviously that's like the hub of it all. And I think everybody else out there just doesn't know, they're ignorant to it, or they're just like, whatever, it's just the way it is. But hearing you talk about it and saying how some of your friends are using dumb phones instead of the smartphones to unplug, I'm curious, is that something you notice mainly just with people in the Bay Area that are just because it's obviously just such a prevalent part of that culture, or is it other areas as well?
Well, I'm not in the Bay Area
I know you're
anymore.
not anymore, but you were there for a long time, right?
I was,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, there was a general sense of that like awareness around, the algorithms and the synthetic technologies when I was living in San Francisco. This was like, I was in San Francisco from 2012 to 2024, basically.
Hmm.
And my friends, we were consciously talking about it back in like 2015, 2016. So, right, like that, those are like, we were like the early adopters of like thinking about this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
But now it's gone outside of the coasts, outside of, the coastal cities, and, the sort of, um, gone outside of Silicon Valley. And there are in Florida, just the members that come to Slawth Haus are talking about it. I think it's just becoming more mainstream to just to think about what these phones, what these apps and these phones represent, and how they can, how addictive they are, and how overbearing they can become in our lives, and
Yeah.
what is the net value that we're getting out of them. And again, like we've been questioning this and talking about this for so long. And when OpenAI was formed, when Elon started it, that was, a sort of hedge, foreshadowing of, how to control AI before Sam took over and made it for profit, and then said,
Yeah.
hey, there's a huge, business opportunity here. But people have been thinking about not just how to manage the technologies, but the dangers of the technology for a long time. But I think now just it's going mainstream like just now.
Mm.
And I think a lot of it is because, we're approaching, what, 2008 was the first iPhone. We're almost approaching 20 years of the iPhone. And I think people are really starting to be like, okay, I'm starting to like, it's starting to have a net negative impact on my life.
Yeah.
And I also think COVID was like obviously a black swan event and just like a crazy thing, but that phenomenon and that macro sort of event really, I think, got people to take a beat and a breath and doing it like an assessment, like an audit on their life, and kind of like, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone, but I've had a lot of conversations with people who also felt like it was just a pause in the world where you can like reflect and say, well, okay, what's working and what's not working in my life. I think for me personally, I was realizing like how addicted I was to my phone, and like how much time I spent online. And it was a chance for me to like, you know, for like you said, it was a chance for the pendulum, like literally to swing the other way. Um, and uh, for me, I know a lot of things did go online more during COVID, so that's also can play into this tech fatigue. I think, everyone, because obviously you couldn't go out. So, but for me, I took a moment to say like, okay, I need to find more balance in my life. I need to not work so much. I need to not be on my phone as much. I need to
Hmm.
make space for humans, for my family. I need to create bandwidth for emotional bandwidth to like make room for, people, and not be so wrapped up in my work and in technology. So I think that COVID really was you know, just an incredible moment in history that, there's always silver lining. Obviously, it was, a horrible pandemic, and a pandemic is never a good thing, but there was a way for people to really, change things in their life, and I think change it for the better. But there was also some residual like negative outcomes from COVID in terms of people feeling isolated, um, all the kids being pulled out of school, all the, remote work. So that I think was also a silver lining because people want after post COVID, people wanted to get back together, community in person and so forth. So I think that was a sort of a watershed moment to, yeah, to kind of switch things around in terms of how people live their lives day to day and
Yep.
craving that like, in person kind of connection.
Absolutely, man. Yep. What's your thesis on the next 5 to 10 years of how everything's going to turn out?
Well, I think there's going to be groups of people who, yeah, I think there's going to be two groups of people. I think there's going to be groups of people who choose, you know, the virtual reality and the metasphere. And I think it'll be a very compelling option for people to live a simulated life. And I don't judge people for doing that. It's like to each his own. Um, if I mean, I think like the struggles of day-to-day life are real and they're hard. And if someone's giving you an option to take, the blue pill or the red pill or whatever, whichever pill,
Yep.
and say like you can have a life that doesn't require, emotional stresses or, emotional turmoil or whatever, and like you can be happy and you can have things, you can build this virtual simulated life that's everything that you possibly want. Like, here you go. I think some people will opt for that
Yeah.
because real life, this reality, which some people say this is a simulation too, but we won't go down that rabbit hole in this podcast right now, or maybe
We're
you want
going. No.
to. It's
No.
hard. I mean, life is hard. So some people will choose that easier path, but I think some people will rebel against it and say, no, that's not human. I want to, I want to I want to overcome and conquer and like feel and, go through the whole spectrum of emotion and suffer the consequences of failure and reap the benefits of success. And I want to, that's what makes life worth living. So I think I really do think it'll be, and then maybe there'll be people in between that kind of dip in and out, but I think there'll be like maximalist virtual communities, like people who just choose virtual, and then there'll be
Mhm.
like, you know, the Luddite community. It's like I choose human, and then
Yep.
we'll see like how that tension, how that plays out. I have no idea, but
Yep. And then the
maybe
hybrids.
Matrixy, where like there'll be just like pods of people like stored away, which is very dystopian and crazy, but
Yeah.
doesn't seem that far fetched. I mean, we're almost,
Yeah. And then the hybrid, there'll be hybrids too, for sure, right? I kind of like to do both. I definitely love the tech and the AI and I'm on social media, but also I try to be aware of it and intentional about it. And then I love working out. It's always been my passion. I love what you're doing with Slawth Haus, right? And I love obviously coaching and mindset and these rituals like meditation, right? To keep myself present and in my body and in touch with my soul and my spirit. That's an interesting thing. I don't think, again, maybe I have no clue, maybe I'm wrong, but like, I don't think like as a human being organism, you need to grow, right? And to grow, you have to go through challenges, right? So even if there was a perfect AI simulation people could go through, I don't think it would work because they would still need some sort of challenge to like help them grow and develop. But I have no clue. But that's just kind of like my first thoughts about that. The other thing that was interesting is like people talk about those AI doomsday scenarios of like the Terminator, but it's actually like happening. Again, I don't think it's doomsday now, but like the AI algorithm, it's social media, right? Like most people are totally like, and me too. Like, dude, every time I open this, I'm like, why did I go on Instagram just now? Like, cause like 20 like Instagram stories pop up of like people I want to see, and like 20, it's so design, it gets better and better, the design, right? So it's literally like walking into a casino, right? Like they're building this out, right? So your dopamine just gets like hit
yeah,
every single way. It's insane. Like nobody could not succumb to that, right? We all have these dopamine receptors in our nervous system, and it's like getting a massage, right? It's gonna feel good. So yeah, it's wild
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's I think like the first step of what is it? First step of like uh for alcoholics is like admitting you're an alcoholic, right? I think
Yeah.
like the first step of being an addict to your phone is to admit that you're an addict and to understand what the algorithms are doing. And then you can start to choose to impose your will
Yep.
on, making better decisions. I just had
Yep.
a conversation with someone last night, want versus will, and how often in life we just kind of like succumb to our impulses, our wants, our urges, our primitive mind urges, but questioning like, is that actually good for my life? Really thinking about, what are the things that can make me a well-adjusted, well-rounded human, and then imposing the will around those things and like playing defense
Mm,
against, everything else, and being like
absolutely.
super disciplined about it is a lot of benefit there. And so,
Yep. Yep. Well, I love what you guys are doing with the Slawth Haus. I think first step is unplugging, right? Just taking the phone, putting it away, and just setting up those constraints is the easiest way to do it, right? I don't buy ice cream because I know if I have ice cream in the house, I'm going to eat the whole ice cream in like a minute, right? So I think
yeah,
that putting the phone away, unplugging, is a great mechanism and great thing that you guys
yeah,
are doing there.
yeah. Thanks. One other thing I want to mention on that is I think this is like an interesting trend generally that's going on, and I sort of compare it to, again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and my mom was a big gym rat.
Mm,
Um, and I would started thinking like, and I was talking to her about, and I think it was like the end of the 70s, but definitely the early 80s, there was just this sort of like zeitgeist movement across society in the US to go to gyms. And I think, there's we could talk about the reasons why that happened. I don't know exactly. I think some of it had to probably do with Jane Fonda and Arnold Schwarzenegger and
yeah, I was gonna say
like
Richard Simmons too.
Richard Simmons, some of these influencers, right?
Yeah,
Um, but people just started want there was a uh, tidal shift around
yeah,
people wanting to work out and like build muscles and like be in communal environments while like work, getting their body stronger. And I feel like there's a similar thing happening today, but like for your emotional and mental health, sort of what we were
mm,
talking about before. And I think part of it are influencers and doctors and scientists that are kind of, the Andrew Hubermans of the world that are talking about like how things impact you for better or worse. Um, so there's like we're in like the information age and the knowledge age of learning about these things, and it's not a one size fits all model. Every human's different, but at least having a general understanding about how alcohol affects you, or how deliberate heat exposure or deliberate cold immersion affects you on a
mm,
cellular level, on a metabolic level, on a cardiovascular level. So there's these influencers and there's education that's readily available. And then what we were talking about before, I think coming out of that macro, black swan event with COVID, I think people are becoming much more self-aware,
mm,
um, and craving community and craving health, because that, whether we're conscious of it or not, that pandemic made us think about health and wellness and making, making sure that we're fit and healthy so that if another pandemic comes along, maybe we'll be able to live through it because we made choices that allow our immune system to protect us. So, I think there's a combination of those things that is creating this new trend, which I don't think is a fad. I think it's here to stay. And I think we're just in like the early stages of it. So,
I
because like
agree.
people are still going to gyms today, right? Like people thought in the 80s that that gym thing was just a fad. It was just going to go away. Like it was just like a weird thing. Like I remember even in Shoe Dog, the Nike book, Phil
Yeah,
Knight, he
Phil
talked
Knight.
about how people thought he was nuts
Yeah,
that he believed that people would run for fun in the 80s. Like that just wasn't a thing. People didn't run for fun. That's insane. And here we are now. There's 17 run clubs in West Palm Beach. It's
yeah.
like marathons have never been more popular. It's so, yeah, this next wave of gyms for your emotional and mental health are, I believe, here to stay. And that's why it's an exciting time to be building what we're building.
I love that, dude. Yeah, I love that. I thought of that concept many times, and I'm sure obviously other people have too. And that's what you guys are building with Slawth Haus, right? Like, I love gyms. I'm like, why isn't there a place where people can like work on, like, where there's books and you go sit and read and you meditate and you
Hmm.
write, right? All these habits are so powerful and useful for just a healthy mental, emotion, and emotional and spiritual health. So I think that's I totally agree. I love that you guys are doing that there.
Yeah.
And then similar with Heartwood, right? You got I love this is how we first connected many years ago. You guys are the first venture firm to provide founders with a comprehensive health, wellness, and leadership development program, which I think is awesome too, right? Because most, again, especially in VC, it's just about, all right, what's my ROI going to be? And it's a numbers game, and most companies fail, right? But I love how you guys are actually investing in the growth and the health and the of the founder. And like I believe too, it's like when you do that, you're going to get way more ROI out of the founder to begin with. So I love that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, that's what we believe, and we've seen it firsthand. Investing in founder mental health, wellness, and leadership development. Unfortunately, we can't do a control study where we can work with the same company in a controlled setting without these services. But we do. First of all, it just seems obvious that the more founders can work on themselves, the better leaders that they become, and you avoid burnout and you avoid, a lot of detrimental mental health issues that a lot of founders go through that no one has been talking about in Silicon Valley for,
Ever.
decades.
Still.
So we wanted to not only like bring the real founder journey to the surface and talk about and get vulnerable about what founders are actually going through and how painful it can be and how it impacts, you know, founders in so many different ways. They'll never talk about it because founders are prideful and shameful and they always have to act like they have everything under control, right? So there's this
Yeah.
sort of like false reality of what the founder world really was. But I'm a founder. I've been through it, and we not only wanted to make that subject less taboo and like reveal the truth, but also do something about it. So we pay for the founder. So we built a pro coaching platform, and we pay for our founders to go through the platform, the
Mm.
program for the first year. And we have testimonials saying, from our founders saying they wouldn't be where they are today as a leader. The company wouldn't be where it is today had they not gone through our program. We pay for it for a year. Post year one, I think 85% of the companies continue on with, using to varying degrees different services the program offers. So yeah, we feel very strongly about it, and we think that um, we know there's a bunch of VC firms that that have platforms to help companies grow, but there are very few that have platforms to help the people at the companies grow.
Yeah.
And we like kind of forgot that people are the cornerstone of any great business. And the company can only go as far as the people. So like we should really be investing in these resources for not just the executive team and the CEOs, but like it needs to trickle down through the rest of the company. And this helps with, you know, various, co-founder relations or just team dynamics or culture building or whatever. I mean, most companies are people at its core. So we want to get there early and start arming the founders and arming these teams with the weapons that they need to really, understand that these things are important, these soft skills, et cetera. They're as important as I think the other aspects of company building. And
Mhm.
let's get there early to like get them, knowledgeable about how to apply these learnings, on an ongoing basis as the company grows.
That's awesome. And now you also, well, it's been this way, but you have other VCs coming to you guys as well to provide these services, right?
Yeah,
Other
so we
founders.
about 4 years ago, 4 years ago, we had an internal board meeting about, do we keep this program close to our chest and proprietary and only offer it to our portfolio founders, or do we spin it out as a separate company and offer it, to the broader ecosystem to sort of effectuate change in a bigger way? And we chose the latter because, we really believe that, this can be helpful to a lot of, to everyone, to anyone, any founder type or leader type or whatnot.
Mhm.
And any sort of value that's created through the Heartwood platform can get captured back to the fund. Um, because we're like uniquely tethered to the program as the fund because it was sort of spawn in our under our and through our company. So we've gotten just amazing relationships through it, and um, we get to sort of reap the benefits of all the success that Heartwood has. Gets, a lot of it sort of directly or indirectly comes back to the fund. So yeah, so it's its own separate program now, and it's available. We've worked with a bunch of other VC firms, accelerator programs, just standalone portfolio companies, and programs evolving in really cool ways. So yeah, very, very like proud of the work that's been done there. I don't
Yeah.
run that company. It was just our idea that we thought needed to exist. And then Dr. Kari Sullins, basically took it and ran with it. And she's done just an amazing job executing on the original vision that, yeah, like we couldn't imagine it being at the place that it is today when we first thought about this. We just thought we would just connect founders with coaches, but it's much more but dimensional now. It's really cool to see how
So
it's.
so awesome. Yeah, Kari's done an incredible job. We had a few great conversations as well. So that's awesome, man. So cool. I love that you opened it up too. You didn't just keep it internal to your own company, right? That you actually wanted to share just these tools that you figured out that actually are helpful, not just from a business ROI standpoint, from actual like human mental
Yeah.
health standpoint.
I mean, I believe in early stage, for-profit companies are sort of the catalyst for creating really important change in the world. And so
Yeah,
however I can support or be helpful, uh, I want to help across, as far and as wide and deep as I can. So,
nice.
um, so yeah, it's cool.
I'm curious, what's your why, Howie? What makes you do what you do? What are your reasons? Like you've done some amazing things. You started first you were a musician, right? You had your own music
Yeah,
group, right? You were in
yeah,
media before.
yeah. I was in a sort of had my 20s. I was living my dream of being a rock star,
Yeah,
which I sort of think about that as my first. I've always identified as an entrepreneur, and I think, um, I've never really liked authority, so I've always like kind of done my own thing.
yeah.
Never really liked playing
Did you ever?
organized sports because like I didn't like coaches bark yelling at me. I didn't really like working at companies or what because I didn't like bosses telling me what to do. So I was just like
Yeah.
always wanting my own thing.
Did you ever have a
Um,
job like after college?
yeah, so I had a lot of jobs in high school and college just because like my parents said you have to get a job and we're not paying
Right.
for stuff. So so that was my foray into the work. I've worked at Subway and a hot dog stand, and in college I worked at Liquor Mart and Boulder, which is the biggest one of the biggest liquor stores at the time in Colorado, and I was the guy that brought the kegs out for all the frat parties and sorority parties. So
That's a good
needless
job.
to say, I was like a popular guy.
You were the king. Yeah.
I was the king. They never invited me to the parties, but they were just excited that every time I came out with a keg on. Um, but like that, so I like literally just I had to work to like pay for school and to pay for, to live. But I never enjoyed the work, you
Mhm.
know. And so, you know, I enjoyed getting a paycheck, but I never like was psyched about going to work because I just didn't really care about
Yep.
making Subway sandwiches or no offense to these companies. These are all
Yeah.
fine companies. I just didn't care about stocking beer on a shelf or making a Subway sandwich. So when I graduated college, we moved. I started our band in college with another guy, and I really believed in it. And it was the first time that I like really believed in something.
Mm.
And I've always like believed in myself, but it was the first time that I could sort of like externally put that belief to something else outside of myself. So, I got kind of like excited and obsessive about it. And I really was like, I had sort of delusions of grandeur, but that's what makes an entrepreneur great, like, yeah, we'll move to LA and we have a shot to really make it. It's like I really did believe that, but it's like the odds of that actually happening are so low. But that's what's great when you're young. I don't look at you don't look at odds, or you
Yeah.
shouldn't, or you don't look at, the downside, of what all the failures that could happen. You just, I don't know, you just kind of go for things, or you should go for things. That's the time to go for things. It's in your
Yep.
20s, right? And if you fail, like people overestimate the downside of, failure and risk, but like if you fail in your 20s, you'll be fine. And actually, the learnings you get from that, you apply to the next thing. And that's invaluable lessons that you can't get anywhere else, especially not in a classroom. Um, so when we moved to LA, I did have to get a day job, but I was thinking strategically about it. And so I got a job at Creative Artist Agency, which was one of
Wow.
the
Yeah.
top agencies in
CIA.
the
Yeah.
country, and they have a music department. And so said if I could work in the music department, because I was managing our band, that would make me a more effective manager. I would learn the music business from the inside out and probably get some connections. So that's going to be my job. And I think that could help us in a lot of ways. So I started in the mailroom, got promoted to music, made my intentions very clear, told everyone I was in a band, and then ended up working for one of the top music agents who became my mentor.
Hmm.
And helped me become a better manager. And ultimately, we got signed to Sony Records for a seven-figure record deal in 2007 and released an album. The band's called Low versus Diamond, and left CAA to, tour around the world for 3 years and play all the late night shows and be in Rolling Stone and live the dream.
Damn. That's sick.
Yeah.
You guys were in Rolling Stone too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a feature like up and coming bands in 2006 or seven or something like
That's
that.
awesome, man. And you
Yeah.
traveled around the world performing, yeah?
Yeah.
That's
Toured.
great.
There was years where we were touring like 250, 200 days out of the year. It's crazy.
Jeez. So cool, man. I love that.
Also recommend doing that in your 20s.
Yeah, right. Yep. Man, 20s to 30s, dude, that's such a goal. All of life is amazing even as I get older. It's like I used to think it gets worse as you get older. It gets cooler as you get older too, because you're more experienced, you're learning more, you take better care of yourself. But 20s and 30s, yeah, it's like there's so much less stakes on the line, right? And I'm happy I did travel a little bit, but obviously always in hindsight, you'd say you could do things better. But one thing I would have probably done more is if you want to travel way more, right? That's so cool that you were able to travel around the world doing what you love. I always wanted
Yeah.
to play basketball overseas, but I never did. I played in college and I was like, oh, I shouldn't go overseas. I should work. So I just started working on Wall
Mm.
Street instead of like playing
Mm.
basketball overseas. And my friends are like in Germany and like Spain and like playing ball, and, like travel around Europe, right? Which is cool and not getting paid crazy, right? But just covering their lifestyle and traveling around and having a good time.
Yeah, the other issue with sports is that as your body gets older, it's a
Yeah.
lot harder. Uh, so yeah, definitely recommend if you have the physical ability to play sports in your 20s or
Yep.
teen, that's the time. But um yeah, it was fun. And then it gave me a lot of like confidence and courage to be like, oh, okay, like if I put my mind to something and I have this like energy that I bring to something and I could like, like I can make it successful to some degree. And then that I brought that forward to the next thing, which the band broke up and then I started a music management and licensing company because that was just like a natural dovetail just because
Yeah.
I knew that world so well. And then was managing a portfolio of artists, had a partner that was doing music publishing and licensing, but was kind of feeling burnt out around music. And then my partner at the time, she's an entrepreneur and she started a mobile app business that got some seed funding. We were living in LA. She had to move to San Francisco, and I was like, you know what? I'm coming with you. Like
Mm.
I'm just kind of had a good 10-year run in LA, got everything I needed to get from that experience, like worked in all facets of the music industry. Time to move on. Um, and I also just wanted to do something more lucrative because there's not a lot of
Yeah.
money in music. So that was my foray into San Francisco. And then got mentored again from another guy out there, took me under his wing. I got paid to learn. So you asked about the jobs. Like the only two jobs I had post college were sort of a means to an end,
Yep.
basically on the job skills training for like what I like wanted to do in terms of like my own thing, but I needed like mentorship, or that's the way that I do it. Some people just
Yeah.
dive in and figure it out.
Yep.
I like to have like 2 or 3 years of like working in a specific field and working under someone who I really respect as a mentor to kind of like, yeah, to kind of acquire those types of experiential skill sets. Um, but
That's
yeah,
smart. I agree.
but the will is, or the why is just, I don't know. I fall into things, I find things that I just absolutely become obsessed with, and I have to do them. Like I can't stop. Like the
Mm.
band was the first thing, starting this fund, being a venture capitalist was the second thing. And now Slawth Haus is becoming the third thing. And a lot of it is
Nice.
just like the timing of things in life and where I am in my life. And, just luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. And so I'm always like opportunistically kind of like looking at things and feeling things out and meeting with people and seeing what feels right. And then when something feels right and the opportunity aligns and like the time is right, then I just it all everything just sort of lines up, and I don't have like an equation for it. It just feels like it's the right thing to do, and then I go all in.
Nice. That's cool, man. It's a cool different the phases, right? The music and the media and then the VC and now Slawth Haus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of yeah, I guess there's like a story arc there that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
I
I
think.
was thinking
Although
about art.
a very unconventional path to venture. When I tell that story, they're like, how did you go from
Yeah.
side musician to VC? It's like I just put myself in Silicon Valley in 2012 and just met everyone I could possibly meet, went to networking events, was excited about everything. And then what was going on in San Francisco at the time, again, right place, right time, was coming off of Uber and Airbnb and the whole mobile revolution and lots of money and just an incredibly supportive environment and
Yeah.
community. Everyone was like, what are you working on? How can I help? That's where we met,
Yep.
and then like just like flushed with capital.
Yep.
It's like that always helps.
Yep.
Like eternal optimism for 10 years.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Seems like you have a good knack for maybe you're not even aware of it. A lot of times when we have these gifts, we're not aware of them, right? But it seems like you have a good knack of being flexible and seizing the opportunity when it presents itself too, right? Because some people they just don't receive it or they shut down or it's not going to work, right? But you went from LA to Silicon Valley with your partner and
Yeah.
then that was like a new door, and you didn't know what the hell was going to happen there, right? You just went,
No, it just felt right. It felt like my time in LA was up. It was a good
yeah,
10-year run. Same with San Francisco. I mean, I'm still managing the fund, but it just felt like my time in San Francisco was up. It was a
yeah,
13-year run,
yeah,
and there was just an internal thing that was telling me like it's time to move.
yeah,
And
yep,
I picked Florida just because my family's here, and I don't, it's nice not having to pay state taxes, and like
yeah,
the quality of life is pretty great in Florida despite all the stereotypes. There's some like lovely little bubbles here.
yep.
Um,
Florida's great.
and then that was just like the serendipity stars align, me meeting Dwayne, who's my business partner at Slawth Haus. Like that just, there couldn't have been any other time previously where this would have worked with
Hmm.
the two of us, with what he was building, with the trend, the sort of macro trend that's happening right now, the demand for it, where I'm at in my life. I'm in between fund cycles. I have bandwidth to build something. I have a desire to like literally get my hands dirty and like be operational with a company. I had that itch to build again. So it's crazy how, yeah, I guess if you can like read the tea leaves and feel things, and trust that you're on the journey and
Yeah,
things can happen if you stay aware and awake and opportunistic, like
yep,
great things can happen. Now you also have to say no to a lot of things too.
yeah.
So knowing what to say yes to and then knowing to say what to say no, that's probably a very important thing in life.
That's another whole nother hole to dig up, right? Learning how to say no.
Yeah. And isn't
Yep.
like some quote like the most successful people say no to like 99% of the
Yeah.
things. So it's like, but then there's that book of like Yes Man, right? Where like
Yeah.
that guy said yes to everything for an entire year and it's like greatly benefited his life.
Yep.
So I don't know. Who knows?
There's these paradoxical laws, right? It's like those HSBC ads when I was living in New York. It's like, look before you leap. Those who hesitate are lost, right? And there's literally
Right.
two sides of the same coin, right? So I think these things are truth on both sides of the coin. Yeah. But I think what you said, right, just learning to trust your intuition or attune to yourself, right? And this is why things like meditation, breath work, journaling, right, the things you're promoting at Slawth Haus are so important, right? Because it actually helps you recenter yourself and get to the ultimate source of truth, which is you and
Yeah.
nature, right? I love the quote from Einstein, right? If there's a problem or you're looking for an answer, go to nature, you'll find the answer there. So
Yeah, just slow it down. I mean, that
yeah,
was the big benefit of me coming out of COVID, and this is probably what led me to Slawth House, is that I was just living in this neurotic trance of San Francisco, which was incredibly intoxicating and just dopamine hits, like you were saying, nonstop with the algorithms, with the people I was meeting, with the co-working spaces, with the networking events, with the what we were, everyone was building, and man, it was just incredibly uh powerful and consuming in all ways, but it didn't feel bad. But it wasn't like healthy in terms of, having like emotionally and like having balance in my life and having capacity for like meaningful, deep relationships or being able to like sit with information and process it better like I would just go, 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 go. And it was like
yeah,
there was no time to stop and think. It was just like, and that's sort of how like that ecosystem has been running.
yeah,
Silicon Valley sort of like romanticizes and glamorizes that speed. But I don't, but it's not healthy because I felt directly the emotional, mental, and physical health detriments from going at that speed and not having balance and not imposing my will around, just a healthier lifestyle, a more
mhm,
balanced lifestyle. And so that when COVID hit, it allowed 150 miles per hour to basically put the car in park, which also had some like jarring effects when you do that. But
yeah,
then it allowed me to like slow the fuck down,
yeah,
which was really important
yep,
because I don't think I could have sustained that pace. Some
yep.
people can. They're like, there's people that are wired in
It's
ways
interesting,
that
right? If
keep going.
life will keep giving you lessons and signs to like some whatever it might be. In this case, maybe slowing down. Uh, and if you don't notice them, it'll just give you more and more stronger ways of realizing that
Yeah.
as well.
My body, the signs manifested in the form of panic attacks, which was fun
Yeah,
for a year. And that was like, okay, I gotta now like red flag, gotta
yeah,
change some stuff around.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, the body will tell you.
yep. If you and then you got to listen, right? Like you did a good job tuning and being aware.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta listen for sure.
yep.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you some rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
So, number one, what's one belief about entrepreneurship you've had to unlearn?
That speed is that speed wins. Speed doesn't have to win.
Mm,
Just what we just talked about.
yep.
and
What's a
and
daily?
that you have to raise money. You don't always have to raise money either.
Ah,
Venture capital
what
money.
what are the two? What are the two antithesis new beliefs then?
That you can build a sustainable business where you control your own destiny and not be reliant on, outside partners.
Mm,
Um, in certain industries.
yeah,
Some you need outside, but also like make sure you are very intentional about who you take money from and that you're like vision aligned with those
yeah,
people. So like take your time understanding who these people are and what their motivations are and like make sure you're like very aligned there. And yeah, just go at a speed that is more sustainable because you'll make better decisions.
yep. What's a daily practice you refuse to skip?
Become contrast therapy, man. It's like now I do sauna cold plunge every day.
Yeah,
And talk about addiction. I mean, clearly I
That's a
have an
good
addictive
addiction.
personality, but
Yeah.
like that's the kind of stuff I want to be addicted
Yep.
to.
It is so good.
So I'm sitting in 190-degree sauna for 15 minutes and then 3-minute cold plunge, 40-degree cold plunge, 2 cycles every day.
Wow. Do you do it in the morning, afternoon,
Varying,
whenever?
varying, every day is different.
Yeah. Nice. It's
Just
so
depends
good.
on
I'm not doing it right now, but when I'm using Puerto Rico, we have a setup, so it is amazing. What's your definition of a peak human?
wow.
Someone who goes to Slawth House.
Yeah, all of our members are peak humans for sure. But I think living in accordance, understanding who you are and what you want, and living in accordance to those values, like really taking the time to create your value chain,
Mm,
understanding what your value, like mapping out your values, and then living in accordance to that. Um, I think is super important. Going back to the will versus want, imposing your will versus succumbing to your wants.
I love that. That's great. Nice. What's your advice to a founder who feels successful on paper but empty inside?
Call Kari immediately and work with Heartwood.
Yep. Here, let me pull out Kari's number for them. Uh, to do that, they have to go to Heartwood. What's the website? Heartwood, the HWC.com, right?
The HWC.com. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. Because most founders do feel empty inside. Even though like this company is supposed to be bringing meaning and purpose into your life, it is a very lonely journey. Being an entrepreneur, it's a very empty journey, and we want to change that. It doesn't have to be so isolating. Like
Hmm.
there's resources at your disposal that can help in a lot of areas to support you, as well as there's peer groups that you can join where you could feel seen and heard by other entrepreneurs who are going through the exact same thing. So urge you to not feel shameful about, proactively trying to grow in those areas.
Love that. And what does the next evolution of founders and businesses look like to you in an ideal world? How you would like it to be?
I think, well, clearly I'm pro-human, so I think in my ideal world it would be less AI, more human capital, and using AI as a tool to amplify certain areas of the company and to accelerate certain areas of the company, but at its core remain human, and at its core, yeah,
Mm,
not get carried away with the synthetic technologies. Let's get back to atoms instead of bits.
yeah, I love
Because at the
that.
end of the day, your customer is human. I think they're still human, most customers. So, you're dealing with human customers. I think the company should be human at its core.
Yep. I love how I love how you call it synthetic technologies. That's very off-putting, so it's good. I'm gonna start saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. No one wants it. We don't want synthetic anything.
Yep. And then last one, if someone listening feels like the old playbook isn't working anymore, what's the first internal shift they need to make?
The old playbook for their life.
Uh, I would say one is I'd say interpret it how you think, but I'd say bit in kind of like the business playbook, right? Where everybody's just like scale, grow, make a lot of money,
Yeah, I
raise
think
money.
like for me, it's less like money is important, but it's not the most important
Yep.
thing. For me, I guess I'm just more mission driven, and those are the types of companies I like to invest in. It's, what gets someone out of bed in the morning because they're, building really impactful change in the world, or
Yeah.
they're serving other people and building something that serves other people that is creating, value and happiness and or solving a problem in the world. I think that is the substance that I think is important for people to find, not just, optimizing for a paycheck or not just optimizing for, being a part of a startup, really thinking about what kind of startup do you want to be a part of? What kind of thing do you want to build? What really makes you come alive? And,
Hmm.
you are, what's that saying? You're the change that you want to see in the world or whatever.
Yeah,
You can define
Gandhi.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think like going down to a Gandhi level to think about these decisions on like what you can do. Work doesn't have to be this thing where you're just like, you're dreading Mondays. It
Yeah.
can be a thing where you're like you can't wait for Monday because you can't wait to see what emails come in because you're just so excited about what you're building and getting new customers and just yeah, just like seeing it grow in the world. So
Yeah.
I think that like base level of thinking around what you want to do is super important. And I wish they taught this in school. They don't tell you any of this stuff in school, at least when I went to school, but really identifying like the areas that you want to, that you feel passionate about and that you have a skill set that can complement in those areas,
Mm.
I think is important to figure out that fit early on.
Yep. I love that. Awesome, man. So if people want to connect with you or learn more, they can go to oneslawthhouse.com. I love
Yeah,
the
our
tagline.
spelling's a little wonky, so it's Slawthhaus.
That's how a sloth would spell it. I love the tagline too. Sacred slowness. That's great. I just noticed that.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Our property is it's got soul. It's got
Yeah,
some cool like spiritual, soulful elements to it. And it's also affordable and accessible and approachable. So definitely would love to have your listeners check us out. Come by if you're ever in West Palm Beach. Um, my fund is called Pure Ventures. Should be raising another fund at some point next year. So, I have a team, both a Slawth Haus team and a team on the fund side. So I do believe I can do both. I'll have the bandwidth to do both. And so we're talking about raising, and we're a small fund. And I think they complement each other really well because we are looking to invest in some health and wellness type
yeah,
stuff. Um, so yeah, Pure Ventures is the fund. Heartwood is the coaching platform that came out of the fund. Any founders that are struggling should definitely reach out, fill out the intake form on the Heartwood website, and then come to Slawth Haus for a full reset.
that's great, man. And your founders, the new fund, they'll have access to Heartwood and Sloth House, so they'll be able to
There you
be
go.
recharged and
Absolutely.
unplugged.
Absolutely.
Um, do sloth can I wonder? I bet you they could, but that'd be so funny if you guys had a sloth at Sloth House. They could probably live in Palm Beach, right?
Okay, so you want to hear the craziest thing? And this is why I know that like the universe, like things like everything is in its right place sometimes. Like when you make the right decision, the universe will send you signals. We bought this new property for Slawth Haus, um, and we started building, and um, it's sort of in this like agriculture, like unincorporated, like it's zoned like it's like an agriculture residential zone, but like so like there's like it's big lots, big plots of land. And um the the plot that's three doors down from us at the new property, there's a woman that has an exotic animal farm that literally has two sloths on her live sloth on her property, and she lives three doors down from us.
Amazing.
Like, what are the odds? Slash, like, of course, this was like the right thing to do
Yeah.
because that just validated it.
Have you met these sloths yet?
Yeah.
Yes. That's so good.
And uh and yeah, there's some ideas around having a sloth day at Slawth Haus where
Yeah.
like come and meet the sloth.
All the sloths come out. Well, that's funny. The sloths, they just live two houses over. They have their private house next, a
That's right.
couple houses over.
The real Slawth Haus.
Yeah. I love that, man. Well, it was great chatting with you, man. I appreciate you sharing your story and your insights and your wisdom with everybody.
Yeah, man, it's been a blast. I'm really happy we got to reconnect and stoked to be on this podcast. And I'll see you down in Florida soon.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to jump into Slawth Haus and get in some sauna and some contrast therapy.
Let's do it. Yeah,
What's
cool,
your what's
man.
your what's your departing message for the audience?
My departing message. Um, I don't know. Build without burnout.
Yes, there you go. Boom.
I say
Thanks,
that
Howie.
because Kari got this for all of us on the team. I don't know if you can see it.
It's a little blurred.
I
It
guess
says
it's
an
blurred
H.
out.
It's blurred slightly.
It's an H, but wait, hold on. I'll get it.
Lower it.
Oh,
Oh
it's
no.
I don't know why it's blurred. Anyway, she got this phone. It's a phone holder. It's like
Yep.
a whatever. You put your phone on it, and she got it for all the team members at Heartwood, and it says build without it says my name and it says build without burnout.
I love that.
You kind of see it.
Zoom's blur is pretty strong. Before
It
it,
is. It's
I don't feel like
crazy.
it's ever been this strong before.
No, like they really know how to recognize human faces, and then everything else is
I,
just forget it.
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, great way to end the show. I love that tagline as well. I'm going to make sure I write that down actually to remember and tell my clients. Sweet, man. Great chatting. And until next time.
Thanks, Naeem.